So I remember, we'd be out at Calder.
Yeah.
I don't know. It feels like we're out there every third week having a run round in a car,
And what about tyres then? What were you running then?
So initially we were on Dunlops in 96, and then as our results got better, we were able to get the customer Bridgestones.
Right. Because I heard a story like Lounsey going to Phillip Island, there was a truck.
Oh, yeah.
HRT would take a Bridgestone truck and they just would run around tyres all day.
They had steer tyres and drive tyres.
Yeah.
So they'd go and try, we don't need to tune the car up. Let's just throw a different tyre at it and see if that gets it to turn harder and drive harder. So yeah, it was pretty wild back then.
Were the budgets of again, like a little bit off topic, were the budgets bigger then for the tyre manufacturer, do you think? How were they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And it wouldn't have been cash so much. It would have been just go testing and.
Well, that's a massive performance part. If you can just change tyres and you've got a manufacturer of a tyre that's supporting it, it's a cost you don't have to. It's probably a good thing they got on top of that, though, because otherwise
absolutely.
There was always haves and have-nots.
Yeah, because you'd go to some tracks, wouldn't you? And it was like, that's a Yokohama track. And then all the Yoki cars would dominate, and then you go somewhere else. And
Dunlop, like the Grand Prix was a Dunlop track.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely, Dunlop track. Anywhere where it was hard on tyres like Perth, Bridgestone all the way. Every time we went, there was a Bridgestone tyre. So
you never heard about parity back then, though, did you?
Nah, you didn't.
Or was it just not as public? Like internally, there was a lot of chat about it?
I don't know. Well, I think it was less about parity and more about what tyre you're on.
But that's what I mean, like parity in terms of tyre, though.
Yeah, but the parity wasn't driven by, hey, we've got to change our car. It was, okay, who's going to be what on the tyre? And you always had, so Bridgestone and Dunlop and Yokohama always supported a Ford team and a Holden team as their top team. And then you got the...
so you could choose the tyre when you'd go to it?
Not us. We would get what we're given, but the team, certainly the teams could. They could choose a tyre from what they tested, or we've got a new tyre, we think this will have more turn or whatever. Yeah. And
just going back on the AUSCAR, how was the dome, mate? Because I remember as a young fella, because my uncle raced around the dome quite a bit.
Yep.
Going there as a kid watching, and like it was packed, and I still don't live far from Calder now, and I drive past every day going to work. I'm like, I just remember that whole grass area being full. It was wild.
Awesome. It was awesome. And for a couple of reasons, you could go testing out there. That was really good. And when you're transitioning as a young bloke from one thing to another, that was really handy. But you're right, they were single day race meetings. So you turn up, you practice at 11 a.m, you get one practice session, you go out at 4 for qualifying.
Yeah, good.
You qualify, and then you go and do, in AUSCAR, I never did NASCAR, but in AUSCAR, you did a 110 lap race. And it was awesome for two reasons, because it was a good distance and you're out on track for an hour, 15 sort of thing. But the Goodyear Eagle tyre that we used was just a road tyre, and you had to buff it.
Right.
And if you went flat out right from the outset, you'd blow a tyre before the end of the race and you'd be in the fence. So you had to manage it. And everyone knew that was what you had to do, right? So until you got to that there was always a safety car. Maybe sometimes it was a bit played out that there was going to be a safety car at some point, but generally someone would crash between lap 60 and 90, and then it was a full-on race and you went for it. But it was really, really good fun. And, Shane comes in and talks about all the stuff that he's doing and how the cars race, and okay, Calder's only one track, but that's exactly how it was. Side draft, you got a good feel for side drafts and bump drafting and doing all that sort of stuff. And it was awesome. It was really good racing.
I had when Shane did come on, he was talking about that. Is that what you're saying, that when he came on here and chatted?
Yeah.
I was fascinated by the amount of, because we get a small amount of side drafting.
Yep.
But it's always in a straight line, and you're really just trying to break the side draft. Like you're always chasing each other across the track.
Up, yeah.
But I was fascinated by him saying about how much aero you lose in a corner when someone's beside you, and how when you come down on someone's door, it can take away.
Yep.
So all that stuff, like people say, how's turning left fun?
Okay. Yeah.
That's what makes it it's tactical racing. It's just different, I think, as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It is exciting.
But good is different. You go and do something different, it's great, and then you get an experience on a heap of different things.
And back then on the dome, that was quite profitable for a lot of people too. I remember hearing it was like Speedway spec with prize money.
Yeah, prize money, and they pay appearance money for you to get to the track and stuff like that. When when it was going really strong, that was awesome. Like, it was really good. You could, some of our friends that we pitted with, they could almost run on the appearance, mate, because the cars were cheap, and they were pretty reliable. They were pretty bulletproof. They were running on the appearance money, They're just coming out for the race meetings and doing what they had to do, put a set of tyres on it, and they could afford to do it.
I'd love to see supercars, because the Gen 3 car, I think is quite a good product. I think it is good, and I enjoy racing it. And it's never going to go back to how it was, where the cars are cheap and
no.
It's never going to, because technology moves. Half the shit's built out of carbon. It's like it's just not cheap to repair.
Yep.
But I think the format and time on the road is something we can 100% play with. Like, you talk about one-day formats, and then you could introduce wild cards that can come and do it, and it's not a 4-day exercise. And also the wild cards only being really at certain events is hard as well. But a single day event where you can have an extra 5 wild cards turn up, which are Super 2 cars, and you do races that aren't fueling races.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing too. I was going to ask you if you think there should be more cars at the Bathurst 1000, but Super 2, the challenge is a lot of them don't have permanent crews to set up pit booms and everything. So there's garages there, but it's not as easy as just turning up. But if you did some sprint format, single day events, you could actually have some Super 2 people come in with a good enough program to be competitive.
Yeah.
And there's enough Gen 3 cars that can be built, that can be shared around.
Yep.
And a Super 2 car can, then you can pair people up that are ran by a main series team.
Give people a shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they've limited though that teams can only run one wild card entry per year.
Yes.
But I think you could change that and say it's got to be for it can't be someone that's done X amount of races or something, because then you do start to see them use it as a testing program.
Yeah.
But we've already got testing restrictions. Do you think that would be a good idea to maybe limit the event time and do the odd race, which is a single day event, have more cars on track? And
I do, but I also can understand and appreciate with the commercial value of the sport that to run a single day event, you don't get a lot out of that for the lead up, for the stories, for the things that help you sell it.
And not even if it was 15 events instead of 13? So the extra 2 are actually additional, not replacing what we've got.
I think it's just coming up with what's the model. I think you're right. The whole, being a dad that's got a son, the whole at the moment for us is, okay, it's always going to be about how much, right?
Yeah.
But what are the different ways we can skin the cat? If we can go and get the first 2 Super 2 races underway, and it goes okay, jag a top 5, people go, that's not a bad effort. Okay, now then can we, how do we get a co-drive? Well, you're not going to, but maybe then there's an opportunity. Maybe there's something else that can come out of, the teams can actually go, how can we give a young guy a go? It's not going to cost us, $1 million, and we know how hard it is to find the dough at the moment.
And they do get a benefit out of it anyway, because they're capping it, saying one team can only run one wild card entry, so it's not seen as testing. But let them get a benefit.
Yeah,
maybe it's like if you're in the, the top end of the championship, maybe you can only run one wild card. Like a T8, maybe you can't run 10 wild cards. But the smaller teams can then give a shot. Because I'm not a dad, but we are here having a conversation about.
Yeah, it won't be long.
Not that I know of.
Won't be long.
Not that I know of, though. It's possible. Might find out after this pod goes out.
Are you travelling, Steve?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. Yeah.
But the best thing, what we're trying to do is just have conversations about the whole sport and the way it's run at the moment, and trying to change what's currently happening, because I think we need more opportunity for young people coming up to even just get opportunity to show that they're capable, so they can secure a co-drive with a top team the following year even. So if it is a wildcard entry, like Cooper Murray at Darwin, to qualify where he did, it didn't even matter what he did after that in the Enduros.
Right. Yeah.
It was a done deal that he could get I think it was after that, Barry said to someone, or I read it somewhere, he decided at Darwin that's when they signed him.
I heard that, yeah.
And I'm like, that's so cool to hear, because it might not be that he gets signed for a full-time gig, but maybe Clay rolls in and we're at a Winton for a single day event, which low cost to run it, and it's an additional event to what we've already got. And he runs really well at a track he's done some miles at, gets a top 10, and people go, fuck yeah, no mistakes, quick enough. Let's put him in as a co-driver. Because, I mean, I love, not to single out Luffy, and it's important, obviously, that's his job as well to co-drive.
Yes. Yep.
But I would love to see young kids come through. Like, I know it as a co-driver, I shouldn't have a shelf life which is just extended because I have experience.
Yes. Yep.
I'd love it if that's how it stays, and that's what I'm sure like Luffy and everyone else thinks.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'd love to see you take yourself out, you take the bias hat off, and there should be young kids that have some way of getting a chance.
Yep.
Keeps the sport fresh.
Yeah, it does. Yep. And I guess the other side to that is you've got to be careful you're not flushing the sport with too many new people that people don't recognise. So there's a balance.
Yeah.
There's got to be a balance, but you've got your main guys. And I think for me this year, from a personality perspective, was probably one of the best years that we've had for a while. Like people are actually showing a bit of, this is what we do. And, I think it's been great this year. It's probably been less of this and a bit more of this with some of the personalities, and that's been good.
Some of the personalities people say that they love. Let you do your sound check.
No, please talk.
Some of the the drivers that people love, like Jazz, you're always seeing a happy side of them.
Mm-hmm.
But I had made a note of one of my questions is, you've been through the category long enough where you changed from being a championship that was not really sure of where it's at. It was professional, but it was not at the level it's at now. And it seemed like when I watched a lot of the old races in the last few days before you came on, I just wanted to watch the personalities, the interviews, the races, how they unfolded. And I just spent some time watching.
Yep.
And I would see drivers pissed off on TV, like do an interview. And of course, you got Alan Jones, someone was pretty outspoken, and some of his interviews were passionate. But
Jim at Bathurst.
It was rare to see just everyone smile. And I think Lounsey kind of changed it because he became so popular with the fans. So it was like, even when he had a bad day, he could still smile. And it became a thing that people loved. But there does seem to be a point where, like, no one's showing their pissed off side.
Yeah.
They're almost crashing. And then if they can hold a smile, everyone's like, oh, that's a good lad.
There is, you would probably know better than me, mate, but there's certainly a bit of pressure now because of social media.
Yeah.
There's elements to that where people can just be assholes on it. So there's probably a reluctance for people to sort of step out of the crowd for fear of going through the next week of being smashed by someone that can, because they've got the opportunity to write something, So maybe that's a part of it. But and look, for me, my personality, I was pretty neutral through. But when things weren't right,
2010, Rick Kelly.
What happened there? I don't remember. I saw you put in notes, but I actually don't remember that.
Oh, it was quali, and Rick thought that I had, and you know what Simmons is like. You've got to, you can't be any more than 2 seconds apart because otherwise you come across traffic. So I that's what we were doing, and then got out of the car, no drama. Oh, that's right. No, Rick came up next to me after the checkered flag, come around in front of me and jumped on the brakes, brake tested me, and I didn't actually really know what it was about. So when we come in the pit lane, I said, "This is not on. Like, what's going on here?" So I went up to see him, and he came marching out, and probably for me, I knew probably at that point that was going to be my last full-time season. And Rick said a few things, right, in relation to that, and I didn't like what I heard. So I grabbed him by the scruff of the throat, and then Matty House comes running out from the garage.
It was good. I saw it, and Rick's this like young, tall, skinny, like rake, and you just had him by the scruff, and he's like being walked backwards. It's like me at the gala, but it was funny as I was like, I saw the photos, and I was like, I got to bring that up because when we're talking personalities, you were like, to grab hold of someone, and it's no harm. Like
no,
you're not going to hurt
but
him.
I reckon
no.
I'd worry about.
We were
that
probably
today.
having a beer that night somewhere down in
Even
Tasman,
your driver interviews on the grid after sounded like Rick was like, "Nah, it's all good fun. Like it is what it is." I was angry. I think he said because he acknowledged that he thought you were in the wrong. Because that was when I first saw the article, when I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, it looked like maybe you were giving him a spray for something, but it ended up being that he thought you were in the wrong.
Yeah.
So I was like, what actually happened?
I was just confused.